Welcome to Salesology, conversations with sales leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. When you're ready to transform your sales for today's transforming market, we've got you covered with your host, the queen of cold calling and founder of Salesology, award-winning author, speaker, sales trainer, and coach, Wendy Weiss.
Hi, welcome to Salesology, conversations with sales leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. And I'm your host, Wendy Weiss. I'm the founder of Salesology and the Salesology Prospecting Method. I'm also known as the queen of cold calling. Today, our very special guest is an internationally acclaimed and award-winning online marketer. He's a 3 times best-selling author. He is a top podcaster and speaker, Scott Aaron. He is the go-to specialist in converting traffic, establishing connections, generating leads, creating sales, and building personal brands, all by using LinkedIn. He fully immersed himself in learning LinkedIn and social media strategies, and he quickly gained traction as a leader in generating big results for other entrepreneurs, online business owners, and business coaches. Scott is passionate about helping fellow entrepreneurs achieve success while building their own network organically and without really complicated and costly marketing tactics. And his program has helped thousands experience explosive growth following his proven systems and strategies. He is people-focused and results-driven, and Scott's strategic approach to teaching others how to create wealth online and organic traffic is a game changer when it comes to competing in a completely saturated digital world. So welcome, Scott.
Thank you, Wendy. Grateful and honored to be here today.
Yeah, so I'm very happy you're here to kind of spill the inside secrets to LinkedIn. But before I ask you all of those questions, I want to know the backstory. Would you share with us what was your pathway? How did you become this leading expert in LinkedIn?
Well, we probably could do a whole episode just on my story, but I will give you the Cliff Notes version. So I jokingly tell people that I've been psychologically unemployable since day one. So I've never worked for anyone. I've always, quote unquote, been my own boss. And that actually happened from a family situation. You know, my father, who is an entrepreneur as well, he owned various businesses, but also had a passion for fitness. He did competitive bodybuilding when he was younger. Still at 70, he competes in bench press contests around the world. It's still a passion of his, and he still personal trains. So he actually pivoted away from a lot of the general business, industrial types of companies that he owned to go more into sports rehabilitation. And he was actually helping run a company. Unbeknownst to him, the owner of the company was a scam artist. And my father got caught up in a $9.5 million insurance fraud case in the late 1990s. This actually led my father to having to serve 2.5 years in federal prison. And the 6 months leading up to my father's sentencing, he had bought a failing health club in downtown Philadelphia called Old City Ironworks. At that time, I had also just failed out of college. Being away from home and not having like structure where I was left to my own devices, I always chose partying and friends over, opening my books. And everything happened at a very, very pivotal point in my life. I was 19 years old, not really sure what I wanted to do about my educational future, not sure what I wanted to do for my professional future. So I re-enrolled in community college, got myself back on track, did very, very well, ended up getting a partial scholarship to Temple University in downtown Philadelphia, ended up graduating in 5 years total. So I really, did a bunch of summer sessions to catch up and did very well at that university. But I would couple the success I had from an educational standpoint from a business standpoint. When my father ended up leaving for prison, this was the beginning of my sophomore year, end of sophomore year of college, when I came home I was 19 years old, and the keys to the business were turned over to me. So as a 19-year-old kid, I was now a business owner of a health club when I was an athlete, but I didn't know anything about health and wellness. I didn't know anything about running a business, let alone a gym, having to manage people from staff to managers to instructors. I was thrown into the wolves, so to speak. But my dad, from afar, helped me along. And my mom would go visit him. My parents aren't together anymore, but at the time they were. My mom would visit him on Saturdays. My sister and I would visit him on Sundays, and that kind of turned into my dad and I kind of brainstorming ideas of what I could do back at home to grow the business, which I did. I grew the business from about 300 members to 1,200 by the time my father came back home 2.5 years later. One gym turned into two gyms. And then that was in 2002. 2003, we actually sold both of the gyms for $1 million. So at 24 years old, I became a millionaire. And I then just kind of regrounded myself as far as what do I want to do now. But I had been personal training, doing sports nutrition, teaching classes for the last 5 years. It's kind of like what I knew. And it just kind of made sense to continue down that path. So we ended up opening up our third and final location in 2004 outside of Philadelphia. And I didn't really know what it meant to have financial debt or business debt, but everything was kind of put into my name since my parents had no credit left due to my father's incarceration. So in a family-owned business, if there's a dotted line shown in front of you, you sign it. And that's what I did. So about 6 years later, this is now 2010, I found myself in about $1.5 million of liability debt. So it's the complete opposite end of where I was 6 years prior or 7 years prior after we sold that gym. And at this point, I was running a very successful personal training business. The gym was getting by. I was slowly paying off my debt, but nothing to write home about. And in 2013, I was asked an interesting question. And a friend of mine asked me, if you got sick or injured where you couldn't train people anymore, or something happens to the gym and you have to close it, which is kind of, foreshadowing because I did have to close the gym 3 years later, what would you do for money? And, at this point, my son was a year old, and I really had to start doing some thinking about my future, because at this point, 2013, I'm 34 years old. I'm completely burnt out. I had spent 15 years in the industry. And at this point, I was doing about 65 to 70 training sessions a week, Monday through Saturday. My only day off was Sundays. I was up at 4 a.m., at the gym at 5, home at 9. I had no life. And for me, I wanted to create more harmonious balance in what I was doing. So I started then growing an online wellness business where I was able to work with people online, whether it was providing nutritional guidance, supplements, training routines, coaching, and it started to really grow. But I would say aligned with that, I was looking to see where I could properly promote myself outside of my warm market. Now, my warm market, as most people's is Facebook. That's friends, family, that's people that people you grew up with, college, whatever. I wanted to grow outside of that because I was looking to start charging a premium rate outside of what I was charging face to face. I wanted to charge more of a premium price, and who could afford that? And when I started really looking at the demographics of Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn was the clear winner because it had an age demographic of 35 to 55, an income of $70,000 to $100,000 a year or more. And I was allotted 30,000 possible connections. So the numbers were in my favor in every aspect. So I really started leaning into it. I had started an account in 2009, but really just had it as a placeholder. But obviously dusted it off in 2013, reworked my profile, started searching and connecting for ideal professional clients. And I started booking appointments. I started generating revenue, and I started having client after client after client come on board. And coincidentally, I was reaching out to some friends of mine in the industry. And I said, listen, you got to start looking at this platform. It's amazing. It's different than Facebook. It's different than Instagram. This provides you the leads that you need for the opportunities for the client acquisition to create revenue in your business. And, I had been in sales basically my entire life, going back from selling gym memberships to selling personal training packages to selling nutritional programs. It's all I've known. And the reason why I was so good at sales is because A, I asked the right questions, and B, I was looking for solutions to the problems that the person revealed. I never assumed I knew what someone needed help with. That's why, going back to the gym, when someone would walk into the gym, every tour I gave of the facility was different, because I would ask the person, what are you most interested in seeing at the gym? Or what are your biggest goals that you're looking to achieve? And if they said, well, I want to lose weight, I'm not going to start with all of the free weight equipment. I'm going to take them upstairs to the cardio deck to show them all the cardio pieces that we have. Or if someone says, I want to put on some muscle, well, of course, I'm going to show them the dumbbell racks. I'm going to show them all the machines that equate to their goal. So no one ever walked out without getting a membership because I solved their problem right then and there. The same goes for when you're doing anything else, especially when you're looking to help people with any sort of business or any sort of outcome. So I was telling some friends what I was doing and gave them kind of the ABCs of how it was working for me. And one friend in particular started really applying what I taught him. And about 2 weeks later, he reached out to me and he said, we got to hop on a call. I got to share with you what's going on. So I hopped on a call and I said, what's up? And he said, listen, whatever you figured out, whatever you discovered, it works. He goes, I have 14 appointments booked this week, and I've never had that many calls booked in a week. He said, you should be teaching this. I said, what do you mean I should be teaching this? He goes, I think you cracked the code here. I think you figured out a very genuine, authentic way of using LinkedIn in a non-spammy way to really pick up clients and actually help people that are looking to have the problems that they have solved with what we could provide. And I said, He goes, it's just like your personal training people, but you're doing it in a different fashion. You're doing more business coaching and not fitness coaching. So that was kind of like the aha moment for me, where I realized that there was a gap, a hole, and a void in how people were going about prospecting, acquiring clients, and creating revenue. And that was kind of the birth of the system that I created, which I was able to patent. And I haven't looked back since.
Okay. So I'm very curious, because it's been a while since you started using your system, and LinkedIn has really changed. And so I guess this is a two-part question here. Have you had to change your system to accommodate all the changes in LinkedIn? And one of the things that you were just talking about was your ability when you started using LinkedIn to approach people in a non-spammy way. Mm-hmm. However, these days LinkedIn is completely full of spam. So my two questions are, how have you had to accommodate and change your program based on all the LinkedIn changes? And two, what about all the spam on LinkedIn, and how do you get past that?
Well, the first question is, I haven't had to change a whole lot, in all honesty, because the framework of what I created over almost 10 years ago now, I call it the 4 layers of LinkedIn, is optimizing your profile to create a relatability to an ideal target audience. So you're still going to optimize your profile. That's not going to change. Now, there have been additional nuances and features to your profile, but whether it's in my course or my consulting, I always update it every year to make sure that it's up to date. The second layer is building your ideal client network. That hasn't changed either, because you're not looking to just race to 30,000 connections. You want to be very specific about who you're connecting with. And I do it from 2 perspectives. The first perspective is your ideal client avatar, or the person that you serve best with your product, your good, or service. That's a very, very clear and apparent strategy, no matter what platform you're using. You don't want to just connect with people just to connect with them. You want to connect with people that you can serve in the right way. The second type of connection is your power partner. So collaboration is a big key of myself, my wife, and our company. So you want to collaborate with as many people as possible. So you want to develop power partnerships, allies on LinkedIn where introductions can be done, mutual beneficial collaborations like what we're doing right now, which is a podcast recording. That is how you can grow your network exponentially. The third layer is messaging, and this kind of couples into your second question. How do you prevent the spam? Well, you prevent the spam by messaging people in a very genuine and authentic way. Well, number one, you don't use automation. Number two, you never sell and pitch to someone in the opening message. You actually look to build the know, like, and trust. So it's creating an authentic message where you're just reaching out and creating a relatable connection point between you and the person that you're messaging. So if you're actually connecting with the right people, that message that you create and curate that's very authentic to you and them, they're going to respond back. And it can be very simple, like, hey, Wendy, it's so great to be connected to you. I noticed that you have a podcast, as do I. Would love to hear about your show and share more about mine and see how we can best support one another here on LinkedIn. Anytime for a call or a Zoom this or next week. It's a very harmless, warm message because, you're stating to that person, like, here's your connection point. I have the same one. Let's see how we can support each other. Because what people don't realize, that word support is one of the most powerful words in the English language that you can use. And there have been scientific studies done and prove that when someone reads the word support, it actually triggers their brain to release a chemical called oxytocin. This is our feel-good brain chemical, just like dopamine, serotonin, endorphins, cortisol. So that person gets the warm and fuzzies when they're reading your message. And that's what you want to do. You want to bridge the gap. You want to lower the drawbridge. So when you message people the right way, you're not put into that spam category. The other thing I will say is this. Where the spam is coming from is from two parts. The first part is pure laziness. People are just spraying and praying. They don't care about building the personal connection with someone. They're just trying to cast this wide net, and hopefully someone will fall for their tactic, which is happening very, very far and few between. The other thing is that they're taking bad advice from the wrong people. And you can't use that kind of strategy and expect to build a genuine connection with someone. Now, the fact of the matter is that when you take the approach that I just stated, where you're creating that relatable connection point, it's going to lead to more people wanting to get on the phone with you, where you're never selling and pitching to someone. You're actually creating a connection point where you're learning about them, you're sharing more about you. And if you've done your due diligence and you've connected with the right people, you're going to state some of the things that you do that solve the problems that they may or may not have, where either they may be a good fit for you or they could refer someone else. Now, with the fourth layer, this actually couples into everything, and that is creating content on LinkedIn. Now, you're not looking to sell and pitch into your content. You're actually looking to educate and inform and become the expert in your space. You need to give people a reason to engage in your content. You need to give people a reason to engage in your content. You need to give people a reason to follow your content and come back day after day, because if you're providing free educational and informational value that's going to make their life and their business better, you're going to build a thriving tribe on the platform of people that maybe now, maybe in the future, maybe 6-7 months from now, they're going to end up wanting to do something with you. So when you really take that approach, and that's been my approach since day one, and I think that's just goes back to my 15 years of relationship marketing experience of not marketing to people, marketing with people. Now, in regards to the spam messages, if it doesn't pass the smell test, you don't send it. Meaning, if you're reading a message and it stinks, don't send the message. The other thing that you want to take...
No one is taking your advice there, Scott. I
know, because they all stink. But here's the other thing. So the one other thing that I always tell people to do is turn the mirror around and put yourself into the shoes of the person that's receiving that message. Ask yourself this question before you press send. Would you yourself, in all honesty and transparency, respond to that message if it was sent to you? And I guarantee you 10 out of 10 times, if you're about to send some sort of 18-paragraph long drunkalog verbal vomit message to someone, there is a 0.00% chance that you yourself respond to that message. So if it stinks, don't send it. Be genuine, be authentic, be real, be yourself, and you will book more calls to build those relationships.
So is this advice that you're giving, is it different, let's say, for a solopreneur versus somebody working a salesperson at an enterprise level company?
Nope. I mean, it's a one size fits all, because whether you're selling for someone else or you're selling for yourself, you still have to build that relationship with the end consumer. So I've worked with sales organizations, sales teams, solopreneurs, multi-passionatepreneurs. If there's an end result that is wanting to be achieved, meaning you're wanting to get your product, your good, or your service, whether it's something that you own or you've partnered with, you want to make sure that you get it out there to that person. And that's the goal. You want to make sure that it's being sent and seen to the right person. And again, building that rapport with those individuals, whether again you're working for someone else or working for your own self, it works with everyone. You have to understand that relationship marketing and relationship building is the most powerful aspect and tool of our businesses that people aren't utilizing enough.
Okay, so we're going to pause now for a word from our sponsor. When we come back, Scott, I want to know a little bit more about your daily LinkedIn routine, and maybe you can share some examples, some success stories, some what not to do stories, or how you've turned things around for some of your clients. But before we do that, we have a word from our sponsor, Salesology, 81 tools to grow your sales and your business faster, more easily, and more profitably. Are you stuck because you can't find the right sales and marketing resources to help you grow your business? Or maybe you're sick of spending hours hunched over your computer researching and looking for what you need instead of selling and generating revenue. Or maybe you're just frustrated and confused because you can't find what you need at an affordable price. Well, never fear, because Salesology has you covered. We've done the research and we have vetted all of the sales and marketing tools so you can save hours of work because you no longer have to hunt for what you need. Download 81 tools to grow your sales and your business faster, more easily, and more profitably. It's free. Just click on the link in the show notes and you'll be glad you did. So we are back with LinkedIn expert Scott Aaron. So Scott, I'd like to know what your daily routine is for LinkedIn. You get up in the morning, maybe you drink your coffee, you open up your computer, log into LinkedIn, and then what do?
Well, I do nothing before 10 a.m. That's just the way that my wife and I have structured our morning routine. So I get up at 6. We have 3 dogs. I take our puppy out, get her fed, put her back in her cage so she sleeps a little bit more. I kind of prepare our coffee and our breakfast, and then I get my wife up at 7, and we take the other 2 dogs out. We then work out from 7:30 to 8:15, come upstairs, have breakfast, kind of just talk about, what we want to do for the day. And then things start at 10 o'clock. For me, I have a very simple process on LinkedIn, something I do every single day. And I do this Monday through Friday. I send out about 15 targeted connection requests. Or accepted connection requests, because they need to fit into one of 2 buckets, as I stated prior, either an ideal client avatar or a power partner. So anything that equates to 15, whether it's accepted connection requests or sent, that's number 1. Number 2, I message 3 to 5 people a day that I feel, number 1, could benefit from my product, good, or service, where I want to learn more about their business, and maybe if there's a need for something that I do, or a power partner for collaboration, whether it's a guest training, guest speaking event, podcast collaboration. So I'm always planting seeds. I'm always looking to book at least one call a day. That's the goal I have. 5 calls a week, 20 calls a month. I keep things very simple and streamlined. The third thing that I do is I create a piece of content. Now, depending upon what I'm doing on a specific day, I have a very, very specific structure. Monday is always a LinkedIn live training. Tuesday is some sort of educational piece of content, whether it's a post or a document slideshow, or even an infograph. Wednesday is always a poll question for market research. Thursday is another LinkedIn live based on some of the results from the market research poll from the day prior. And Friday is an educational or informational based newsletter edition to my newsletter called LinkedIn Tips and Updates. It's getting close to 7,000 subscribers on LinkedIn, which I'm very grateful for. So that's my process every single day. And then I couple that with engaging in my audience. So I'll send out some of the push notification messages, the happy birthday, the work anniversary, congratulations on the job or the promotion. But I'll also choose 2 or 3 people within my newsfeed that I kind of relate to from the content that they've produced, and I will add some value-added commentary to their post. So again, that's my daily structure. It's very simple. I connect, I message, create content, and engage, and then I'm done for basically the day. It takes about 15 to 20 minutes.
For the entire day?
For the entire day.
Okay. So you're able to create content in 15 to 20 minutes, or you must be repurposing content?
Well, I mean, my LinkedIn Lives, that probably takes I would say the longest aspect, because I block out, I do a 30-minute live show from 10 to 10:30 Eastern, Monday through Thursday. So again, I do my connecting, my messaging, my engaging prior, and then I do the piece of content. As far as the Tuesday stuff, that is either repurposed from prior content where it's very easy to do, or throughout the week, I'm always creating other content that I can actually drag into Canva and either create a document or a PDF or some sort of templated infograph that I have. I have templates for everything. And then, Wednesday when I'm doing my poll question, that's as simple, just pop on there, just hit the poll option and just create it right on the spot. Much like my newsletter edition, that's always created from prior content. I take kind of the framework of maybe what I taught in a LinkedIn Live. I throw it into the newsletter edition, and then I just type for a little while and expand on each point. So it's very streamlined and very succinct. So it's not taking up a lot of my time. It's just a very systematic approach. So it becomes automatic at this point. It's also when I teach my clients to, work smarter and not harder, where they're not having to spend a lot of time on the platform. And after you kind of rinse, wash, and repeat a few times, it becomes second nature.
So you're someone who has been doing this for a long time. So what about somebody that's just starting out and they want to implement what you've been talking about today, and but they don't have a whole lot of content to repurpose because they're just starting out?
Well, it's not about repurposing all of your content. I only talk about things within my zone of genius. So for anyone that's looking to get started on LinkedIn, that's why I love the poll questions so much, because they give you that market research of what people within your network are struggling with, what they need help with, where you can actually look at the responses of the poll question, and you can then provide some additional commentary and information based on what they've revealed to you. So being an expert doesn't take much. You just need to know a little bit more than someone else in a specific arena or area of business. And again, I usually tell people to start with just 3 pieces of content a week to get started. Do a video on Monday, a poll on Wednesday, and a long form piece of content on Friday. And the way that you can structure it is Monday, just do a 2 to 4 minute video giving people advice or information about a specific thing that you teach. So, kind of go over, 3 tips or 2 tips, or here are 2 ways to do this. And you're just providing value. And then on Wednesday, you can do a poll question based around the overarching theme of things that you want to find out from that ideal client. So think about some of the biggest pain points or bottlenecks in your clients' businesses prior to working with you, and ask that type of question. It could be a simple one as, what's your biggest struggle in business right now? Generating leads, increasing your income, scaling your business, other, comment below. And that's going to give you some much needed information. And then what you can do is on Friday, you can look back at that poll question that you did on Wednesday and say people said that they struggle scaling their business. Now you can write a long form post up to 3,000 characters, giving people 2 or 3 pieces of helpful tips and information of what they can do to get started to scale their business. So one thing bleeds into the next. So if you start with just that 3-day-a-week posting strategy, Monday video, Wednesday poll, Friday long form content, you're going to be able to have plenty of stuff to go back and repurpose and put into different pieces, whether it's doing a LinkedIn live training or an extended newsletter edition or even additional poll questions.
Okay, thank you for breaking that down for me and for all of our listeners as well. And so could you give us like maybe a before and after, somebody you worked with, maybe they were already using LinkedIn, not really successfully, and then what were the tweaks that you put in place for them, and what was the result?
Well, any of the people that I've worked with, either through my DIY course or my consulting, they're always looking for the same end result, which is having more qualified conversations with the right people that could better use the service that they're providing. Just a couple examples. My buddy Jeremiah, who owns a bricklaying company in the greater Detroit area, and his ideal clients are residential and commercial real estate brokers, basically to bid on jobs for, potential reconstruction. And I think to date, and we've been working on and off for the last 2.5 years. I think up to date, he's brought in about $3 million of additional revenue just from what I taught him on LinkedIn, which was, connecting with the right people, bidding on the right jobs, and getting the contracts secured. Another one of my friends, Erin Bradley, who we actually grew up together, she's now in the real estate mortgage brokerage business. And she teaches other real estate professionals and mortgage brokerages how to grow and scale their business. So, it was really very organic. We weren't even looking to work together. We had podcasts, and she guested on mine and I guested on hers. And after we were done, she goes, "Well, can I hire you now? Because everything that you said to me in this episode is what I want." So she hired me on the spot. And then within about 3 weeks of restructuring her profile with her and then building the right kind of network, I think she secured almost, an additional $12 or $13,000 worth of revenue in 3 weeks into some of her programs. It's just tremendous what can happen if someone comes to me wanting to better their experience on LinkedIn. As long as they know who their client avatar is, they have a very good idea of what their business is. They're just not quite sure how to leverage LinkedIn to identify it and to bring them in. And they're not really sure how everything works succinctly together, from the structure of their profile to building the right network to messaging people to providing that content. Because I do all that with and for them in my consulting, but it's also taught in my DIY course. People can get tremendous results. There's an insurance brokerage that I've been working with. They secured a $75,000 contract about 3 months ago. Financial advisors I've worked with, I work with entire sales organizations. So, I have over 500 written recommendations on my LinkedIn profile. So there's almost too many stories to tell. But, off the top of my head, those are some of the, the big wins in the most recent time.
Okay. So I know, Scott, you have a gift for all of our listeners. So would you share details about that? And we will post the link in the show notes. So everyone that's listening, after you finish listening, go to the show notes, click on the link to get Scott's gift.
Yeah, it's actually 2 gifts, actually. If you go to my website, scottaaron.net, and you scroll down towards the top, you'll see something that says the 6 steps to perfecting your LinkedIn profile. There's like a grab here button. All you have to do is click on it. Or if it's the first time visiting my website, a pop-up will come up. You just put your name and email, and you'll be given this free PDF on the 6 steps to perfecting your LinkedIn profile to optimize it. But you'll also be given the opportunity to get free access to one of my my courses called the 5 Layers of LinkedIn. It's typically a $197 program that at checkout, if you just use the coupon code 5 layers, the number 5 and then layers, it actually zeroes it out. So you get it for completely free. And it goes into deeper context outside of the infograph. So to get all of that, all you have to do is just visit scottaaron.net, grab your free infograph, and then just follow the steps of how to get the free course as well.
Hey, and where can people find you? scottaaron.net, I would imagine, is one of the places people can find you.
Yeah, or LinkedIn obviously is a great place to find me, but I'm across all platforms. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on YouTube. So if you just Google Scott Aaron, LinkedIn, there'll be multiple ways of how you can connect with me.
And we're going to make it even easier than that, because we're going to put all of those links, the links to Scott's free gift and his website and his LinkedIn and his Facebook and his Instagram and all the links will be in the show notes. So as soon as you finish listening to this podcast, go to the show notes, click on the links. You have been listening, and thank you for listening to the Salesology Conversations with Sales Leaders podcast with our special guest, leading LinkedIn expert, Scott Aaron. And if you have found value in listening to today's podcast, then think about one business owner, one entrepreneur, one sales professional that you think might also find value in listening to this podcast. And please share the link with them. And until we meet again, visualize yourself surrounded by cash, really large bills.
You've been listening to Salesology, Conversations with Sales Leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. Be sure to follow so that you don't miss a single episode. And while you're at it, please leave a rating and review, and be sure to share it with your friends. Tune in every week for more exciting insights and wisdom on transforming sales. And until next time, visualize yourself surrounded by cash, very large bills.